Y is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
This seems very similar to the Umbrella Man. Do you remember this at the
Yes.
Kennedy assassination?
Yes.
And there was all this theory that was he another gunman with some sort of rigged umbrella, and it turns out he was a protester and was protesting something Joe Kennedy did as ambassador to the UK,
Yes.
and the umbrella was a reference to that. And so there is a guy in Paris who eh, I th I don't know, how did the police say they were looking for him?
Yeah, I think so. Because what happened was there's a photo that's captured that went everywhere immediately after the robbery of this incredibly dashing, straight out of a 1950s, 60s heist film, amazing fedora, very handsome, like perfectly positioned in front of the cop cars.
Hmm.
Could not have been more perfected photo everywhere. That they're like, is this the detective who's been brought in to solve this crime? Like, it just could not have been more perfect. Well, the cops quickly said, we don't know who the hell this is. So then they thought, well, is this guy's got to be part of it, right? Because no one could be that perfectly dressed and perfectly positioned, all these things. So
And
yes,
so that's when he became Fedora Man.
he became Fedora Man. Yes,
So that's what they were calling him because they didn't know who he was, hence the umbrella thing. Um,
correct.
and so I guess so he has since unmasked himself.
Yes.
He is a 15-year-old.
Yes. So now it's a little creepy for everybody who thought he was hot.
So, but like he very, very quickly realized like they were talking about him. And so he
Yes.
decided to not say anything. He
Well,
told
right.
the AP, I didn't want to say immediately it was me. With this photo, there's a mystery, so you have to make it last. Now, Pedro gets it.
Pedro does get it. And as we learned more about Pedro today,
Yes. So
it makes
he,
sense.
yes, he is so he only has done one interview since he sort of came upon the scene.
Mhm.
And he posed for the AP outside his home, which is just on the outside of Paris, where he lives with his grandparents, dressed in the same outfit he wore that Sunday, Yves Saint Laurent waistcoat, a jacket chosen by his mother, Tommy Hilfiger trousers, and a restored war battered Russian watch.
I mean, come
Um,
on now.
and I mean, here's what you need to know. The fedora is angled just so is his homage to French resistance hero Jean Moulin. And so he is a teenager who is into Agatha Christie,
Mhm.
Hercule Poirot, um,
James Bond, all of
and
it.
just a
Sherlock
sartorial
Holmes.
presence and wanting to
Yes.
stand out.
Yes. And he was there as a tourist that day. He didn't like find out. My understanding was he was, or this, what I read. Now, again, this is just what I read, was that he was there as a tourist exploring for the day and came upon it and did not know
Hmm.
the photo had been taken. It wasn't like he got wind something was going down and I'm going to go
Right.
try to solve it. Like he was there just dressed this way to look cool in Paris for his day in town.
And he was actually going to the Louvre, but it was
Right.
closed.
But it was closed and didn't realize that was why it was closed. He just was,
Right.
I mean, and for those who are saying that's bullshit, I'm going to stand by him because I always dress appropriately for where I'm going to look cool for the building that I am attending,
I
or
mean,
the
it goes
bridge
to
I'm
the
walking over, or the museum I will be at. I want to dress appropriately for where I will be,
I
or
mean,
what character I wish to portray on that particular day.
right. Well, I mean, as David Sedaris said, when you go visit Europe, you should dress like you were, you know, coming to visit some place, learn about their culture, explore it, revel in it, not dress like you're going there to mow their lawn.
Correct. Or dress as if you are a cat. Well, perhaps it's not best to dress as if you're the cat burglar and to catch a thief because they may think that you were the cat burglar. Much better to dress like
John
you're
Hobby, yeah,
like you're a detective.
right. So,
I
he told the AP, I like to be chic. I go to school like this.
love this kid.
So yeah, everyone else is wearing usual teenage hoodies, sneakers, and such, and he shows up with a version of a three-piece suit.
I mean, come on
And the AP says, and the hat? No, that's its own ritual.
now.
The fedora is reserved for weekends, holidays, and museum visits.
I would have like worshipped this kid as a teenager.
Yeah, he says he understands why people projected a whole sleuth character onto him. Improbable heist, improbable detective. He loves Poirot, quote, very elegant, and likes
Yes.
the idea that an unusual crime calls for someone who looks unusual. When something unusual happens, you don't imagine a normal detective, he said, you imagine someone different, which is so interesting because I believe he has since passed away. But when the Gardner heist happened,
Hmm.
one of the detectives they called in, and I can't remember where he was from. He was living in London and similarly like wore a three-piece suit everywhere, had an eye patch, and you're like, of course, this is the guy who's going to track down stolen paintings.
Yes, of
And
course.
it's so interesting. So his mother grew up in an 18th century museum palace, the daughter of a curator and performer, and
Ugh,
always took him to exhibits. She told the AP, art and museums are living spaces. Life without art is not life,
ugh.
which we
I
need
love
to
this
like,
family. I want to hang out with them. I want to be friends with them.
we should have that phrase translated into Latin and put somewhere on the professional
Can we
thing.
please?
Yes, life without art
That
is
should
not
be on
life. Like
our
that is,
that should be
yeah,
on our
or
crest.
of one of us roaring. Is that
Yes.
what you mean?
Do you want to be the lion or the unicorn?
Yeah, whatever.
I'm the unicorn.
Of course you are.
Well, I'd be the
Um,
lion. I actually don't mind. I would take either of those.
so
You can be the unicorn. I don't mind.
so he said that he stayed silent for several days, then switched his Instagram account from private to public.
Of course.
He said people had to try to find who I am. Then journalists came and I told them my age. They were extremely surprised. And then what does he come say next? I'm waiting for people to contact me for films, he said, grinning. That would be very funny.
It would
I'm
be
a star, he
great.
brags. Let's experiment as if he's trying to say the words on the way he tries on a hat. I'll keep dressing like this. It's my style.
I
Pedro,
mean,
come on. Ben,
in the
welcome.
in the spirit of the whole like, oh, it's so French. Now that is the it's so French that we love.
Yes.
That is why we love the French.
This is Why, with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling.
I guess we should start by kind of going into your backstory. Former attorney turned divorce coach. I'm assuming this was after your own divorce.
Yes,
It'd
it
be weird, I
was.
guess, if you did it beforehand.
It would have been like a premonition or something.
Yeah.
I've
Maybe.
done it beforehand.
Or it would
Yeah.
be like a sort of a like I don't know, a preventative measure or something of the
Maybe.
sort.
Yeah,
Sort of like
it could
better
have.
watch out. Or you could be next. Get in
Right.
line.
Yeah. No, it was definitely afterwards. So I graduated from law school in 2006 and started practicing law, practiced law until I had my first child in 2010, and then actually had a very long stint as a stay-at-home mom. So I stopped working, had 3 kids, and then found life coaching and after some therapy in 2018, and it changed my life way more than therapy was helping me like understand what was happening with me, what was wrong, why was I obsessively cleaning my floors and feeling so anxious all of the time. And so I immediately went to get a certification in life coaching. As woo as that sounds, it was a year-long program and it was really great. And I spent a year doing that and kind of started working on the side at the time. This was in 2018, 2019, in a business, working with other moms and helping them when I had, a little extra time because I had 3 kids and my husband at the time traveled a lot. And so when we separated in 2021, I had a call with my therapist at the time, and she spent the whole hour talking about how I needed to prepare for like the worst year of my life. And I needed a survival plan, and like it was going to be really hard. And it was really intense and kind of depressing, but I'm
Well,
very
and
type A. Go
can we
ahead.
also note that's right after COVID?
Yes, it was
Yeah.
right
So
after COVID.
we have all been through one of the worst years of our lives, and then
Right.
your doctor's being like, "Oh, sit down. It's going to get
Yeah.
worse." Okay,
Sit down,
sorry, as you were.
hold my beer.
Yeah,
Let me have more.
Yeah.
Just when you think it couldn't get worse, now I'm going to tell you how it's about to get worse.
right.
So I thought I'm going to take really good notes because I'm a great student and I'm going to do this the right way. And it was a Zoom call because of course by then we were all on Zoom.
Mhm.
And I got off that call and I was sitting at my desk in my office and I had this like divine intervention moment where I heard this voice in my head say, wait a minute, wait a minute. This doesn't make any sense. People get divorced to have a better life. Why is everyone telling me my life is going to be worse for at least the foreseeable future, possibly forever? And I was like, I'm not doing that. And I threw the list away and I said, I don't know if these life coaching tools that sound so woo woo are actually true. I believe that they're true, that our thoughts and our beliefs help create our reality and that our emotions are the fuel for everything that we do and don't do. I don't know if that's true, but I'm about to find out with some really high stakes. And I shut all of the negative voices out and I used these tools that I had been learning over the last 4 or 5 years and I put them to work in my own life. And it was transformative. It was really hard. It didn't make divorce a walk in the park. It didn't make me feel like rainbows and daisies all of the time. But what it did is it helped me understand how to process my own grief and pain and alchemize it into agency so that no matter what happened, no matter how hard my life got, no matter how much my kids were suffering or how much I felt like my ex was suffering or our friends or family were upset, I knew that I could use that emotional fuel and in my life in a way that would support me, my goals that aligned with my integrity and my values and how I wanted to show up through my divorce and as a mom and then also afterwards. And I didn't really realize at the time that I was creating this kind of out of the box framework for how to go through any adversity, but in particular divorce. And it wasn't until afterwards when I was working with a business coach because I had decided that I did not want to go back to practicing law unless it was like, we're going to starve. And I was going to build a business and she was helping me and I was kind of blocked. And she was like, well, wait a minute, you just got divorced. Tell me how you did that because how we do one thing is how we do everything. So I told her the story of my divorce and she just stopped me at the end. She was like, stop. I've never heard anybody talk about it like this. You have to help people do this. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, I have something to say. And it just kind of took off from there. And it's been a wild, fun, and rewarding ride. And that's how we ended up being a divorce coach.
That's amazing. So do people come to you at what stage of, is it when they're just sort of thinking about it? Is it when they're separated? Is it when they're already divorced? Like when do they call you?
That's a great question. I've actually worked with women at all stages of the process because while my legal background helps them understand how attorneys work, how the court system works, what my specialty is and what I really help them with is the emotional divorce. How do we separate ourselves emotionally from our ex, from the vision that we had for our life that now is gone? And what do we do with all of that pain and grief and sometimes anger? And so it's a full spectrum. Sometimes they come to me right at the beginning and that's really helpful if I can catch them then. But some of them have been divorced for years and just feel really stuck. They want to make more money. They want to feel better in their lives. And they're just confused about why they aren't progressing the way that they wanted to.
And you said women. Do you only have female clients?
I do.
Okay. Do you take guys?
I would, yeah, like one-on-one, but
Mhm.
if I run like group programs, I reserve them for women.
So what is the process? How does this all get started? Because I'm thinking it's not a trust fall, or maybe it is.
You mean working with me or
Yes.
getting divorced? Yeah,
Well,
it's
Yeah.
all of it. It's all the same.
yeah.
Yeah. So I have, they usually find me on social media and they will stalk me for a long time, is typically what ends up happening. And I think that builds
Comforting.
trust. It's comforting.
Yeah.
They get a lot from my free content. I don't really gatekeep, so it's all on my social media. And then I often have like lower ticket offers that they can come in, like I have a subscription based podcast they can come in and listen to, more personalized stories from my own life that I'm not going to share publicly. I do small group coaching sometimes. And then from there, they'll usually upgrade into a higher level mentorship if they want.
So, I'm sorry, Heidi, were you going to
No,
say
go ahead.
something?
Go ahead.
So all of these things, they're all kind of wrapped up. Like it is not just separating the pain from a divorce, but there's also the um, the way it says on your Instagram account, like wealth and power, which does make sound like we're going to vanquish our enemies and feast on their bones. But how much of that is connected to the divorce? Are these sort of intertwined, and that you kind of, is part of this rebuilding process, you see it as sort of these three elements in people's lives are the things that can kind of work alongside each other?
Yes, I think it does start during the divorce process if you can find my work while you're in it, because the emotional resilience and the financial sovereignty piece starts there, and it changes how you navigate the process. If there's a lot of financial scarcity, if there's a lot of health scarcity, or other resources like time and energy scarcity, it really does influence how you make decisions about negotiating and moving through either a mediation process, or if you're litigating more litigious divorce. So it starts there. And then through the experience of your divorce, there's a resilience built. And then the goal is afterwards to be able to use what you've just experienced to help create a foundation of sovereignty in your own life, meaning that you believe that you can create resources when you need them. It doesn't have to be millions of dollars for everybody. Not everyone wants to be that ambitious, but I find that a lot of women do. They have this kind of dormant ambition that they've kind of been like sitting on because it didn't quite fit into their lives. And now they have to figure out how to get over the fear and trust themselves again, because now they've come through something that was really hard. And there's this narrative that tends to take root about, well, if I couldn't be trusted to in this relationship, right? To pick a relationship and to trust that it would last. How can I possibly be trusted now with this vision I have for my life? And so it's learning to trust yourself again and create wealth, not just with money, but also with your time and your parenting and a relationship if you want that, and your health, and kind of covering all the bases of that and using the emotional resilience that you built through your divorce and to do that.
And then do people sort of graduate out of working with you, or do people sort of stay in the group or forever and just sort of have a different view on it? Or do they sort of become, I mean, obviously you're the coach, but do they sort of become mentors as they've kind of evolved through the
The students become
process?
the teacher. I
Right.
see what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my goal is to help graduate them, and most of them do. I have a couple that have worked with me for a really long time, and we just kind of keep up leveling together.
Mhm.
But it's a practice and a skill set. And so most women come in, they get it and they practice it usually for about a year. And
Mhm.
then they can go and they can coach themselves, and they have the self-awareness and the skill set now to do that. And they'll go out and do their thing, and they don't need me anymore. It's amazing.
And so we were talking about the fact that you mostly work with women. I
Mhm.
am going to assume, and maybe this is a false assumption, that a lot of people are coming to you uh, in the midst of divorce or post-divorce, where they had sort of given up their career, what they were doing before, to focus on raising the family and putting the family first. And then all of a sudden, there's sort of I'm assuming kind of caught flat-footed and trying to restart this race to be successful. That's got to be harder than, having somewhere to go every Monday and get coffee at.
It can be, yeah. It depends on the story that you tell yourself, right? So we do a lot of storytelling and narrating, because if you believe that you've been set back and you're behind the eight ball, right? Which the statistics will tell you that if you've been at home with kids, or you've just slowed down in your career in order to focus more on the family, that you are statistically more likely to earn less and be behind other peers who didn't step out of the workforce in the same way. But the way that I look at that is that statistics are a reflection of the past. They have nothing to do with what's infinitely possible in the future for you. And so you can decide that those statistics mean something in your life, or you can decide that the time you spent stepped away from focusing on your career has in some way become an asset for you. And how could that be true? And what does it look like to kind of grip your agency in terms of what the grit and the commitment that it's going to take to accelerate a career from, I mean, my career was it was at nothing. I was making $0 when my divorce was final. What does it look like to go all in and bet on yourself and decide that no matter what, you refuse to believe that the last 20 years of your life was a waste, or like is going to hold you back in some way? And just that like mindset shift really does change how you feel in your day-to-day life and what you believe is possible for you. So I like to shake women loose of this cultural narrative we have that you're behind and you're going to be set back and this is financially devastating. Okay, maybe. But until we know for sure, why don't we try on the belief that because of what you've been through, you are now going to exponentially be capable of exponentially making more or as much as you want, or have the success that you want because of who you've become through this process. And that just feels better. And when you feel better, you are more effective in your life.
And is this women from all walks of life?
Mhm.
Is it all professionals, or is it, I mean, watching film, you would think it's divorcees are mostly women who want to open flower shops or very small bookstores.
Yeah, no, it's all walks of life. It's from stay-at-home moms to corporate executives. I mean, I've done $1 billion divorce. So it's like what the gamut, because we're all human and we all have unique circumstances. No two look exactly the same, but we all tend to, especially when you're looking at a gendered gap, the emotional patterns tend to be the same no matter what. So somebody who's getting divorced with millions of dollars can have just as much, if not more, financial scarcity than someone getting divorced who's going to have $10,000 when it's over. And so it's been really eye-opening for me too, as I've talked to more and more women, to realize, oh, it really doesn't matter what our circumstances are. We think it matters because it's all we know, but everyone's having a similar experience. What are we going to do with that experience that helps us instead of holding us back?
And you work exclusively with people going through divorce, right? You don't work with someone who's maybe been in a long-term relationship that feels like a divorce, or someone who's a widow, right?
Actually, I mean, I've had clients that have done my programs and hired me as a mentor who are not getting divorced, but they just, like, had a client who was struggling with an infertility journey. It's
Mhm.
really any adversity that you're experiencing, whether it's a hard breakup or
Just feels,
infertility, it all
yeah,
applies. Yeah.
it seems like it would be similar.
Hmm.
Yeah, it makes
Just
sense.
scare the hell out of their partner.
I
That kind of
know.
I
thing
mean,
too.
that's the thing, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh,
Honey, it's just
Yeah.
because I want to work with her.
yeah, I just have this class. She's
Not
just a friend of
planning.
mine. It's no big deal.
Not
Right.
planning anything.
Yeah, it's
You know,
nothing.
when I was looking over your Instagram page and all the stuff you're doing, I thought of the Louis C.K. bit. I mean, years ago now. I know we're not supposed to talk about him, where he opens one of his specials by saying, talking about his divorce, and everyone kind of awes him, and he says, "Knock it off! Like, if everything was good in our lives, in our relationship, we wouldn't be getting divorced. Like, it's better for both of us." Do people still inherently have that sort of come to this with a bias of like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, this," like as it is some sort of failure on one or both parties' parts, that it is not like a, "Hey, both of you realized this is not working out. We need to divest and keep everyone in, like, keep our relationship somewhat civil if there are children, all of that." Is society writ large getting better at acknowledging the positive sides of divorce?
I do think the tides are turning. I think that it's still, you know, imbalanced, in favor of this is a horrible failure and something has gone terribly wrong and it's broken. But if I look back to 2021, when I first separated, I looked for resources like I now provide. And I just wanted anybody to offer me just a modicum of like positivity or something to help me feel just a little bit better about the challenges that I was facing. And I couldn't find any. And so I kind of tuned out all the divorce talk and leaned into more of a spiritual life coaching type resource and would just then apply it to the experience of divorce. And I found that much more supportive. When I look now, I see there are more people, there are women in particular talking about empowerment and divorce and normalizing it and making it okay that things come to an end and are complete. And some people are ready to receive that and some people really hate it. And, I think it will just take time.
Do you find that the people that come and work with you, do they end up sort of bonding through this too and forming relationships outside of this? Like, do they end up sort of forming friendships and things like that as well?
Yes. So if I
Yeah.
run small groups, they tend to stay in touch with each other. And then they also stay in touch with me, which I love. So I get emails a couple of times a week or DMs on Instagram. You're not going to believe what happened. It always starts with, "You won't believe this. I wanted a raise, but I held out for what I wanted. It ended up I got a 50% raise and a promotion. And it's just like you said." And it's really fun to see to get the catch up, after they kind of leave my space and to stay connected with them. I've made some great friends too that I keep in touch with daily.
Like the First Wives Club.
A little bit.
I just it's interesting, and we're talking about the negativity of divorce, and you kind of saying like, "I refuse to go through this year of hell." um I mean, that's such a huge negative thought to have in your head. And obviously, everyone talks about the fact that negative thoughts will always be louder than the positive ones.
Mhm.
I mean, how do you fight that shift and not be, like you said, there's this sort of cultural thing of like, "This is too bad. This is so sad. I feel awful for you." And then just everywhere else around you, like, how do you stop that voice and ignore every single person you meet seemingly being like, "I'm so sorry for your loss"? Like, how, that's a huge, never mind what's going on in your own head, like the exterior pressure. How much of the process with working with clients is just getting them to kind of change the volume on those voices?
Mm. A lot of the process is working through the stories that other people hand us, including sometimes our ex, and then also the stories that our own brain offers us. And I always say the first step is we don't need to get away from them and we don't need to resist them and we don't need to ignore them. We actually can invite them in and not be so afraid of them because all they're going to do is create an emotion in us. And I'm not here to make divorce feel good. I'm here to help you use however you feel, whatever you need to feel for yourself. So just because I decided that the year was not going to be the year from hell doesn't mean that I didn't spend most of the year on my knees and like ripped open. I did,
Mm.
but I decided that my negative emotion wasn't a problem and it didn't mean things were going badly. And that's really the shift. So when something happens and it feels bad, we tend to think it is bad and this is a setback. But my work is mostly focused on how can we take what feels bad and see it through a different lens, let it feel bad, but also understand that it's moving us forward. It's actually not setting us back unless we resist it and get stuck in our own suffering.
That's just good
Yeah.
advice for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes, I would. Yes, it is.
And how long into, in your own divorce process, did you sort of have this moment of enlightenment? Was it early on, or was it sort of, where were you in the process before you, as the sort of patient zero, had this moment of clarity?
I think it was right after that call with the therapist, but I don't think I fully understood what I had committed to until probably maybe 6 weeks after that, when things were feeling very chaotic, kind of scary. I was feeling terrible. I was really afraid for my kids. Like things were very unstable for a time. And everyone was telling me, you need to go get a job. What are you doing? You can't just what are you going to sit around the house? You need to go get a job. And I just remember thinking, I'm not rushing because I'm afraid and I'm feeling scarcity to go get a job. The numbers tell me I have some time. I do not need to do that. My full-time job right now is to take care of my kids, take care of myself, and feel terrible. And if I'm willing to feel terrible for as long as it takes, these models that I've learned tell me that I will come out the other side better for it. I have to believe that's true, because if that wasn't true, I would have crumbled. It was so intense. And my divorce happened so fast. We were divorced 6 months after we separated. It happened so fast that if I hadn't taken that time to just process, and sometimes that looked like just sitting on the couch and crying, journaling, going for a walk. It didn't look like I was doing a lot, but I had to get all of those emotions out of me because they were going to make me sick. It was so intense. And I just intuitively knew that if I could just be present and be where I was instead of trying to rush to the next step because I was afraid, that it would serve me long term and I would figure it out when I got there. And I didn't know for sure if that was going to be true, but then it was. And no one was more surprised than me. I was like, look, it's actually going to be okay, you know? And now I have so much evidence from clients that when someone's really suffering and horrible things happen sometimes that are really hard, I can sit in full knowing and trust and tell them, you are going to be okay. If you will trust me, I'm going to hold your hand through this and you're going to come out the other side more resilient and stronger, and more abundance will be available to you because you are here right now. And that's really reassuring for someone who's feeling threatened or feeling like their kids aren't going to be okay in particular.
For more information and to contact Meagan, you can find her at her website, meagannorris.com, or she's on Instagram, where she's at Meagan Norris Coaching.
Nigel, is that you? Are you here, Nigel?